Atlanta's Koreatown has been moving north for years. Here's why. Yes, that's the title of this article, and I'm going to cover it in this video because it just got released with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution a week ago, and it's got some pretty good information. For those thinking about moving to Atlanta who are of Korean descent or just interested in Koreatown in general, may want to know about this if you haven't already found out yourself. Hey, I'm Tim Trevathan with Tim Trevathan Homes. I'm a local real estate agent here in Metro Atlanta, especially covering the North Metro Atlanta suburbs, where I've done a lot of topics, not just related to Koreatown, although you may have seen the viral one about the Duluth vlog tour that I did a few years ago, but also on all kinds of other topics such as neighborhoods, local communities, great new construction communities to check out, the pros and cons of living in different cities, and so on. Well, this is one where I'm just gonna read the article literally line by line, verbatim, and just inject some of my opinion and insight as I'm reading it. So let's go. Atlanta's Koreatown has been moving north for years. Here's why. Doraville used to be the center of the region's vibrant Korean community. Now that center is in Duluth. Yes, that is true. I remember back in the 1980s, 1990s, not that I went to Atlanta and visited during that time. Not until maybe late 90s, early 2000s did I visit, but even at that time I noticed that there was a shift happening where the Koreans that had established a Koreatown, Atlanta's first being in Doraville, started to shift to Duluth, and for various reasons that you're gonna see in this article, so let's stay tuned. So here's a picture here. It just shows a restaurant with people eating. Dubu Gongbang. I have not actually been there, but yeah, that is, it looks like in Duluth. And there's so many restaurants, guys, off of Pleasant Hill Road. So many that keep popping up. It's hard to keep track of. You'll see that in a lot of the videos that I've done, such as the vlog tours, some of those restaurants are already outdated, even though it's been 1 or 2 years. Either they've closed shop, or they've moved to a different location, or a new restaurant's popped up in that same location where the previous business closed. So it is a very competitive market, but there's always opportunity for small businesses. So starting out, the article says, Sangmu Yi, 67, watched favorably as a couple from Buckhead enjoyed jampong, a spicy noodle soup, for Saturday lunch at her Korean barbecue restaurant, Han Il Gwan in Doraville. Adding the Chinese-influenced soup to the menu was a survival move, she said, as Korean restaurants disappear from the stretch of Buford Highway near I-285 that was once the center of gravity for Georgia's small but bustling Korean community. Yes, it was. While we specialize in K-barbecue, a lot of customers started looking for Korean-style Chinese cuisine when Yenjing closed, she said, referring to a beloved but now closed restaurant nearby. Yi is also catering to people with tastes for Japanese foods with Korean influences. There aren't that many Korean-style Japanese restaurants anymore, so we also added a Japanese box set, she said. Speaking of Japanese food, I have a video that I did on that, and there are some amazing restaurants, and one of the Atlanta's first, made I believe in the 1950s, it opened up, Nakato restaurant. You should definitely check it out. It's going on. Buford Highway in Doraville was Atlanta's premier Koreatown for decades, where Korean grocers, chefs, and clothiers opened shop in low-slung shopping centers in the 1980s. Businesses along a 3-mile stretch of the corridor proliferated over the next couple decades as the world's attention turned to Atlanta for the 1996 Summer Olympic Games and as South Korea strengthened its political and business ties with the US and Georgia. So again, I was maybe about almost 10 years old when the Atlanta Olympics were here, the Summer Olympics. And I was living in Montgomery, Alabama at the time, but a lot of Koreans, albeit a very small community, that were from there, and as well as Birmingham, Alabama, we would take trips up to Atlanta to see the Koreatown on the weekends. We would literally block off our entire weekend to go drive there to hang out in the H Mart shopping center and shop for a bunch of goods. So I remember during that time, late 90s, me and my family, when we started finding out more about the growth there, we would take visits here often. Now only a handful of Korean restaurants are left as merchants close shop and take their businesses and your favorite Korean food farther north into Gwinnett County. Duluth, about 10 miles to the north, now boasts the largest Koreatown in Georgia in the southeast, encompassing all aspects of marketable Korean culture, from restaurants serving K-food, aesthetic cafes playing K-pop, and skincare clinics promoting K-beauty. And we have Additown, Innisfree, Tony Moly, a lot of other products of skincare skincare that are here for sale and available for people that are into it. And we've got a lot of laser treatment clinics, skincare clinics that are Korean-owned businesses. One that was in Duluth that now moved to Johns Creek. Had to find the name, but that one my wife actually attends, goes to often, and she loves it there. And the business continues to thrive as it's tapped into a Chinese market in Johns Creek now. A new restaurant pops up in Duluth every morning you wake up, said Yi, who owns several restaurants in Duluth, Suwanee, and Doraville. And more continue to crop up along I-85 towards Suwanee as Koreans settle farther north into Gwinnett County, home to the highest percentage of Koreans in the southeast. And then there's a picture there of the business sign of Ashi Market. So we've got 4 H Marts, an Ashi Market, a Mega Mart, and several farmers markets that aren't Korean owned, but those are international foods as well. This one, Ashi Market, is on exit 109 Old Peachtree Road, the south side of Suwanee. So this is actually one of my favorite areas to visit and live, as opposed to what most people know about, which is H Mart, which is also an amazing place. It goes on to say the Atlanta Journal-Constitution spoke with about a dozen Korean business owners, residents, and real estate experts who pointed to a multitude of factors for the shift, including commercial real estate affordability and space, quality of school systems, and a booming Korean population and K-pop craze that has driven demand for Korean food to new heights. Well, I'm a real estate expert, so I can chime in myself. Yeah, there is a lot of growth. It continues to grow, continues to expand, and literally there are shops popping up, I feel like every week. Even there's one lady that I've become close with as far as friends and a business relationship, and it was the Ajima, the lady who owned Soon's Bakery in Suwanee, close to the H Mart there, and she just sold her business along with a couple other bakeries to another owner now who owns the store, and they revamped, remodeled inside. It looks like a brand new coffee shop. You can't even recognize what it looked like before. Different seats, different pendant lighting, and even some of their food and bakery items are different. They've got this kind of hybrid mochi dough flavored bagel that they have there, and it's really good. And a lot of this commercial space, you own it, you live in it, the value continues to go up. So once you sell your business, you're also selling the real estate if you own it. If you lease it, then of course you're not gonna be able to make a profit off the sale, but it's very much lucrative in terms of people are constantly looking to buy out businesses because they know the overhead and the costs associated with growing the business from the beginning, from scratch. So there are people that are also being acquired on a regular basis. The original Koreatown. Korean immigrants began to develop off Buford Highway in Doraville around the same time Georgia's Department of Economic Development opened its first office in Seoul in 1985. They found affordable land and opportunity to start their businesses once word spread of some landlords willing to rent commercial space to immigrants. One of those landlords was Halpern Enterprises, which owns a large portion of the commercial space on the corridor. My father was an immigrant to this country, and I believe no one appreciates opportunity in the United States more than immigrants do, Halpern Enterprises chairman and CEO Jack Halpern said. We were willing to take chances on people who did not have an impressive credit history, but were willing to work hard to make the businesses succeed and give their family a chance to a new life in America. It's funny hearing that part about not an impressive credit history when we all know you need credit in order to borrow, to get loans in this country. What comes to mind when I read that part is Metro City Bank is a very popular, I guess you could call it Gyopo, Korean American, Asian centric bank where a lot of non-QM, which is a non-qualified mortgage loan, is offered there. It's not illegal by any means. This is a different type of loan where you don't necessarily have to have credit. You can go off of bank statements and the history of your business if you had a prior business or just your income alone. So there are options here for everybody when it comes to starting a small business. And then there's a picture of Korean Chinese restaurant Yanjing off of Buford Highway. See, I know all the Korean markets well, but that one I don't know too well because it's in Doraville, and I don't visit Doraville as often as I used to, but I could see that is a street off of Buford Highway. It looks like it just from the blue roof building. And so yeah, it says, as Buford Highway's demographics shifted from the predominantly white blue-collared workers at Doraville's General Motors assembly plant to immigrant entrepreneurs, Halpern stitched together a plan to create Georgia's first Koreatown after Los Angeles's Koreatown in the 1990s. The critical elements I was told from touring LA Koreatown was a bank that catered to the immigrant community, a large grocery store. So I recruited the Buford Highway Farmers Market and restaurants, he said. If you had those elements, it would become the immigrant shopping area for Atlanta, and that's what came to pass. I can attest to this 100%. I remember I believe the first H Mart, not in Doraville actually, although that's where the first Koreatown was. The first H Mart was off of Pleasant Hill Road in exit 104 of Duluth. And I remember once that got established, all these other Korean-owned businesses popped up and sprung up surrounding it. And that's really what made people gravitate towards that area, because if they can get their Korean groceries, then they can go and stop by the other shops, thereby giving them business. More immigrant communities, including Chinese, Vietnamese, and Latino, flocked to an 8-mile stretch of the corridor from roughly Claremont Road to Jimmy Carter Boulevard. When the 1996 Summer Olympic Games put Atlanta on the world map, Buford Highway became the immigrant hub of the South. It wasn't long before Korean businesses like Kimchi Myeonggawan, which would later become the K barbecue chain Iron Age after moving to Duluth, began to look for more space and affordability elsewhere. That's cool. I didn't even know that was the previous name of Iron Age. It's one of my favorite Korean barbecues. Some say the most Americanized. It's the best priced. We got the Iron Age steak there, some of the best meat. Some may not like the environment. It looks kind of club-like with a bunch of screens of K-pop, and they have the black lights, but it's definitely worth checking out. We ran out of room, Halpern said. Real estate tends to be more affordable the further away you get from the city, so it was sort of a natural evolution for businesses to move north on Buford Highway and Peachtree Boulevard. That is a very good point made, and what I find interesting is my dad, so my mom is Korean, my dad is American. I love the way my dad put it one day years ago. He made the comment, said, Tim, wherever Koreans are, that area turns to gold. So Koreans, wherever they go, they flourish and they bring in more business and more job opportunities, not just to the Korean community, but just to the whole American population as a whole here in Metro Atlanta. It's truly remarkable. One thing that Koreans do is they're smart business people, so they know the next step where to go. And so I think the fact that they already could eye Duluth back in the early 2000s and 90s as the hot spot where real estate, retail, and office space was a lot cheaper, then that's when they started to see a huge wave happen faster than expected. Now this is cool. I like this diagram here, this illustration. Gwinnett's Koreatown moves north. So you can see here, so the center of the Atlanta Metro's Korean population has moved farther northeast, according to AJC. So you can see like the darker that color is, the dark purple, that's where the higher density of Korean population percentage that there is. And then it evolves. In 2018, you can see more areas like in Buford starting to turn dark orange. More areas where the dark purple are turning darker purple. And then in 2023, which is the most recent, 2 years ago, man, you could just see that spread out. So there's some areas, now this is what I find interesting. There's less purple areas in 2023 than in previous years. So it looks like Koreans are moving out. Not necessarily moving out of Atlanta or out of the state of Georgia, but more so it looks like they're spreading out. So they continue to hold a huge residential, powerhouse here, as well as just spreading out amongst the different suburbs. And Buford has been one. We got the Mall of Georgia there, so it's become more and more congested. I had one client who bought a house in Buford. She actually read this article and she posted online saying, I hope we get an H Mart in Buford. That would be a game changer. Then I would love living here for the rest of my life, which she already loves living there, but that would make things blow up in terms of real estate, people wanting to swarm that area because it's already cheaper than the other areas like Swanee, and then now they can have their H Mart as well. Moving up. Gwinnett Place is a cluster of mostly Korean restaurants and businesses concentrated in 2,000 acres near its namesake mall, just off I-85 in Duluth. From Korean traditional spas called jjimjibangs to supermarkets and cafes, Gwinnett Place is the center of today's Koreatown. The Gwinnett Place Community Improvement District was created in 2006 to revitalize business and improve infrastructure and public safety. It is now one of 6 self-taxing CIDs in Gwinnett County and home to about 7% of all jobs in the county. Joe Allen, executive director of the Gwinnett Place CID, pointed to the country's good government, fairly low taxes, excellent schools, great infrastructure. They'd encouraged both families and businesses to settle up north around the time the CID was created. That's a good quote there, and I will attest to that as well. Who doesn't want low taxes and a good government, excellent schools? That's everybody, but especially Koreans, and especially when it comes to low taxes and excellent schools. You can look at it like this. Fulton County is the highest for taxes, then Gwinnett, then Forsyth. Why do I mention those 3 counties? Well, they're some of the most populated, top top 3 populated actually. But some of them have higher taxes, like North Fulton, Johns Creek, which is the best area to live for many reasons. You can see my other videos. I won't go into it here. But people don't like the taxes there necessarily. So people are moving to Gwinnett where it's cheaper, and then in some parts of North Suwanee, you start touching the southern part of Forsyth where you've got even less taxes there and great schools, Lambert High School. North Gwinnett High School has been hugely popular because people continue to shift east because they're getting priced out of Alpharetta and Johns Creek, which are the hottest areas to live. But Suwanee's still being equally as attractive, but for less price on a home with less taxes in North Fulton, and still have 9 or 10 out of 10 schools. Speaking of which, here it says, 13 out of the 15 top ranked public high schools in Georgia, according to school ranking site Niche, are located in Gwinnett and neighboring North Fulton and Forsyth counties. Didn't even read that sentence and I was already talking about it. The quality schools were a draw to immigrant parents raised in a society that values education. Many members of the Korean community told the AJC, everything is there to grow and have a business that will thrive. And that's what's attracted so many people of varying nationalities from across the country and the world, Allen said. And there's one part of the Koreatown there in Suwanee. And the demand for Korean food and culture is only growing thanks to a rapidly growing Korean population. The Asian American population in Gwinnett County has nearly tripled since 2000. So there you go, in 2000, 42,000. And this isn't just Koreans, this is all Asian Americans. So Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, and so on. 2010, it doubled and then went up even more from there in 2020. You know, it feels like there's more than this, to be honest. But I mean, yeah, this is huge population, which is funny. I grew up in Montgomery where there was only 100 Koreans there. The Hyundai car plant came in 2002, brought in tons of Koreans. Now there's about 5,000. Still nothing compared to this census in Atlanta, but that just shows how many jobs and people move due to Hyundai. Can you imagine why so many people move here? Because there are so many Korean businesses. Up in Commerce, there's Samsung EV plant, and then down in West Point, Georgia, there's the Kia car factory, which I know that's away from Atlanta, but continues to spring up all kinds of companies that are kind of like a sister company to those companies, like auto part companies and such as IT and things like that. So, and of course, restaurants and retail and so forth. South Korean conglomerates are also bringing significant investments to Georgia with Hyundai's $7.6 billion meta plant near Savannah. That's cool. I actually did not know about that. I just know about the one in Montgomery because that's where I'm from. And expected to employ 8,500 workers. And then there's the SK Battery America's $2.6 billion EV battery plant. Employs more than 3,000 workers in commerce. So SK, that's who I wanted to mention, not Samsung. Just 45 minutes north of Gwinnett Place. I have a client that bought a house in Houston, and he commutes to work in commerce at the SK plant. We hear from our hotels that a lot of times executives and family members on the weekends will come in at Sonesta Hotel and then come to Gwinnett Place for their dining and entertainment before they head back to the automotive plant in Savannah, Allen said. To track Koreatown's growth, one only has to look at Paris Baguette, a popular Korean cafe chain based in Seoul with more 200 locations in more than 20 states in the US. Paris Baguette opened its first Georgia location in Doraville in 2013. It's funny, I moved to Georgia in 2016 and I remember going to that knowing that that was the only Paris Baguette at the time. Traversed 10 miles up I-85 to Duluth in 2016. Okay, and I remember when I moved in 2016, this second location opened up and it was a much bigger square footage space off of Satellite Boulevard. Most recently opened locations further north near Buford and Suwanee, which is home to the census tract with the highest percentage of Koreans in the state. Nick, Paris Baguette's America's chief operating officer, called Georgia an exciting market where the franchise plans to open 15 new locations over the next several years in areas including Alpharetta, Johns Creek, Cumming, and Savannah. That's a good piece of information. Also, I didn't know that. I just see when they're open and that's when I find out. The latest, there was one off of Buford Drive near the Mall of Georgia on the Lawrenceville side of I-85 where Andretti Racing and Top Golf are. There is a Paris Baguette there. And then the most recently opened one, there's one off of Exit 109. Right across from Ashi Market, there's a brand new apartment complex there. And in their retail space, there's a Paris Baguette there. I love that one because of the location and the atmosphere inside in the space. Gotta check those out. We were definitely in tune with monitoring population growth, up and coming markets and transitions of businesses in various areas across the US, he said. All of those factors help us make informed decisions in terms of trade area and site selection. Surviving in a disappearing Koreatown. Despite the unprecedented growth in Korean population and business in Gwinnett County, some business owners still see opportunity in Doraville's original Koreatown. There's another picture off of Buford Highway in Doraville. Yi, the owner of K barbecue restaurant Han Il-Gwan, said the key to surviving along Buford Highway is to tailor the menu and service to non-Koreans who make up about 75% of her customers. Yes, that is true. Like I mentioned about Iron Age, it's Americanized, and I think that's part of the reason why it's so successful. Yes, there are Korean businesses that cater to primarily Korean customers, but for something such as a barbecue place, it has to reach a larger audience to procure a longer longevity of success. So that I totally understand. We're in a generation where if there's anything that includes the letter K, people are intrigued, you said. This makes me laugh because right across the street from me, there is this beauty supply shop called K Beauty. I still have not gone there, but my mother-in-law, who came to visit from Korea last year, every time we pass by there, she asks the question, is that Korean owned? And the first reason why we thought that, all of us thought that, was because of the K, the letter K in front of beauty. I'm gonna have to check that out very soon. It goes on to say, she's referring to the global obsession over K barbecue, K dramas, K beauty, and the biggest K of all, K-pop. Atlanta has become a major hub for K-pop fans as the only Southeast stop for many K-pop concerts in the US, spreading awareness of Korean culture and driving demand for Korean food. I personally have gone to State Farm Arena, downtown Atlanta, where they had Blackpink perform, and Mamamoo, and a couple other big names that I didn't attend, Jay Park, some other ones too, but you could bet there are plenty of concerts for K-pop here. Since taking over Han Il-Gwan in 2020, Yi has added Korean dishes more familiar to Westerners like the spicy noodle soup jangpong, black bean noodles called jjajangmyeon, and spicy rice cakes called tteokbokki to the menu. The prestigious Michelin Guide took notice, adding Han Il-Gwan to the list of recommended restaurants, which has boosted sales. You know, I have not actually been to Han Il-Gwan. I'm gonna have to check it out. Minnie Kim, Mozart Bakery manager in Doraville, similarly attributes her cafe's success to the diversity in customers. From Korean seniors who stop by every Sunday after Mass to a group of Americans that convenes every Saturday to learn Korean. The fact that we become a kind of hub for anyone interested in Korea, Korean food, and even the Korean language is meaningful, she said. The multicultural aspect of Buford Highway is what makes it have more opportunity for business. So, very cool story. I'll make it short. About 4 years ago, so this is like still during COVID, my wife and I, we went to, White Windmill, which is a Korean American owned Korean bakery and coffee shop off of Buford Highway. So this was in Doraville, going in line with the article. I went there, we sat down, played a card game, sipping some lattes, and then I hear this voice behind me saying, "Hey Tim, is that you?" And I thought, wait a minute, who is that? I turn, I look, and it's a guy, maybe in his mid-20s to late 20s. He looks familiar, but I don't remember exactly who he was or what his name was. But apparently he remembered me. And I said, "Hey, you look familiar, who are you?" And then he said, "Tim, remember we serve at the same summer camp at the Korean church that you taught English at for their kindergarten way back in 2012. My jaw dropped. I couldn't believe it. On another video, I'm gonna have to share all the crazy coincidental encounters, which I call them God providence in my mind because it's happened so many times now. That was just one of many that just, it left me in shock. And come to find out, this guy who we met and we served together at the summer camp over a decade ago in South Korea, he didn't live in Duluth or in that area. The reason why he was there is because he was visiting a friend who lives there, and he now lives in Miami. I guess got a visa sponsored by his company. He lives in Miami, and he was just visiting for a week for his vacation in Atlanta. That just goes to show how many interconnected, interwoven relationships there are here. You can run into people that you may know from Korea that are here in Atlanta, and it's happened to me numerous times. I kid you not. Even I've had clients who have bought houses from me. I met them 15 years ago in Korea. at a small group at church itself, off the street, at a restaurant, at a Korean language exchange program, cafe, anything you can think of. I have found connections to come back to Atlanta, Georgia, because so many Koreans know about this place, want to live here, and want to visit at the least. And to finish off the article, it says, and the convenience of being just 20 minutes from Atlanta or Marietta is one of the biggest selling points for those still holding out for the disappearing Koreatown. People who live in Marietta or Atlanta would rather come here for Korean food, not go all the way up to Duluth, you said, so I'm still betting on Buford Highway. This may be the only part of the article where I might disagree. I think Buford Highway is here to stay as far as the bustling multicultural environment of businesses that are there, but as far as a Koreatown or a bigger Korean presence, it has definitely moved northward and it is not going back down south. And the main reason is because of schools. Doraville doesn't have the best schools, and also there's a little bit higher crime rate there versus in Gwinnett County. And so Koreans are definitely here to stay in Gwinnett County, and I live here in Gwinnett County myself. Guys, this place is an amazing place to live. This article truly showcased where Koreans have moved to, what the business environment is like. Koreans continue to live here and move here, and just the history behind it, from Doraville to Duluth, Duluth to Suwanee, Johns Creek, on to Brazelton and Houston, and even further north, which I don't think it's going to get further than that, because then you're getting further away from the airport in downtown Atlanta, where there's also a lot of things going on. But definitely Gwinnett County, it's here to stay. And so if you want to call this place home, give me a call, reach out to me, because I help people from all over the country move here. And again, I've helped people even in Korea, South Korea, move here and purchase a house. So I'd love to be able to work with you, as I have with so many clients, whether they're Korean or non-Korean. I help them all. So I hope you enjoy this video. If you have any questions, leave a question or comment in the comment section. I love to hear from you. I'd be happy to answer your question, provide more insight in addition to this video. Catch you on the next one.